Everybody, just before I get to the video, I want to say one thing, and that is a thank you to everybody. I know in the whole grand scheme of things, my numbers don't add up to anything at this point. But we are, as of the time of this filming, we are one subscriber away from being at 250,000 subscribers. That's right, I am almost at 250 subscribers in like a month, which for the growth of my original channel to get to 200 took months on end. So, of course, it was a different time back then, but nonetheless, I just want to say thank you to all 200, and I'm going to say 50 of you, for getting me to this point as quickly as I can. So thank you very much. Let's keep that momentum going, and we will get on to the video right now. Welcome back to Indiana Mainline, everybody. We are at the end of 2025. I don't know where this year absolutely went to. I've had a couple of requests, surprisingly, this early in the channel for a layout tour. So we're going to do a quick as I can, because I tend to waffle on all the time, as I'm doing right now. We're going to do a little walkthrough of the layout. All right, so here we are. We are in a sweeping room. This room, man, I believe it was a 10 by 13, 12, 13, something like that. Plus the extension in there. So this here is section 1, and don't mind the clutter underneath. I'm still working on the layout, so it just kind of gets tossed around and things are in my cabinets there, but whatever the case is. Section 1, this was started 2 years ago. It is a 2 foot deep by 8 foot long section, and it was built as a switching module, and with the intent that it could be attached to other layouts, or in the event that this room ever did happen, I could grow off of it. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I've got 3 industries and the engine house down at this side. Now, this was a building that was bought at a train show. When I kind of laid it down in the preliminary design, I knew that this had to go on the layout and in this position. So that's where that came. This is really kind of what the rest was built off of. This kit back here was a Walters kit. I can't remember what they call it, but they are basically a skinny building. That is actually the backside wall. And originally I just built the three sides because I wanted a flat up against the wall. And then I was trying to figure out how I could make it look bigger and kind of fill out the background. And that's when I thought about, yeah, if you want to call it kit bashing, I basically had to do a little bit of sculpting to the side of the building, and or to the wall, and then just flipped it 90 degrees and faced it forward, so it made the building have a twice as wide footprint. This was one of the last things added, I think, to the layout, was the overpass, but I can't remember if I don't think that was in the initial design. I think that was kind of an afterthought, just to kind of give it a little bit of elevation and a little bit of a scene break. It's a Wix, is that what is it? WIX, I think, kit. I don't know what it's called. It's the concrete overpass. It's actually 2 kits. You can see there's a little crack there. They're 150 foot spans. And originally I did have my emergency apparatus up here with the lights, and so there are a few holes along the side, so I've got them a little bit hidden. All of the lighting that is on this layout is at least 90% hold on, I'll come to it. Woodland Scenics. That's what I couldn't think of it. Woodland Scenics just plug system. I did a little bit of, again, kit bash, if you want to call it that, just to make the concrete pillars for the lights to sit on. This building here, I can't remember what the make was. It's a cheaper kit and it needs some work by the looks of it. It's basically a modular thing. It's basically, I think if I remember right, that's a section, down here. These are all sections, and you can build as many kits together in one building as you want. They have a couple of directions or instructions on certain buildings. This was one of them, and I just kind of threw that there because and built it and threw it there just because it was a very open area. This was before the bridge came in and everything, so I built that and tried to make it look like it was an abandoned building. I'll probably throw some styrene over some of the windows, for plywood and that sort of stuff. Got a little bit of a woodland, not woodlands, but kind of like a wetlands, kind of swampy, marshy area there with a bit of discarded vehicle parts and that sort of stuff. And then over here, I've got the last two industries on this part of the layout. I've got just a cross dock. I don't have any real names or specific companies that any of this, on any of this layout, but basic ideas. This is just a simple cross dock from from train to truck. And then we've got what was originally a scrapyard, but I've moved the scrapyard. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with this section. I'll probably use it as like a team track is kind of where I'm going with it at this point because it's kind of an awkward setup. I still got to paint that. This building will stay here though. We will go over to this side here because this is section 1. This is what I've dubbed section 2. Right here, that's where the scrapyard is now. I ended up just throwing that little line in there. One, because I had the switch and I wanted to make a few more little switching areas that I could. Didn't want to overfill, but I wanted at least a few options on this layout. So that's where I've ended up putting that, and it works pretty well. Back there, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I think I've mentioned before that section there is off of a layout that I had purchased and then subsequently disassembled. And I was going to say dismembered, but that's a little too weird for me. But yeah, so that's just kind of there as a scene fill right now. And that is actually Lizzie Borden's house. I went and visited the Lizzie Borden house last year, I think it was, almost a year ago now. And in the gift shop, they had those. It's actually got a little Christmas bulb light that goes in it and lights up and everything. And it seemed like it was HO scale, so I'd bought it because I didn't know what I wanted to do with it. But I figured if it's HO scale, I might throw it on here. So right now it's there. I might tuck it in the corner just as kind of an Easter egg because I like putting little Easter eggs on the layout every once in a while. So that might stay there. I'm not 100% sure. Then we'll have an electric grid here just to kind of fill up a little bit more area. What I'm thinking about doing is, you can see there's track that comes out of here because everybody knows probably with this kit, I think it's a Walthers, I'm not 100% sure, but one is a straight pass through. So my original idea was to make sort of a yard over here, and that I did have a line coming off of, and it just wasn't working out having a yard here. So I've scrapped that idea, but what I think we might do is isolate a track here just long enough for a locomotive and put a programming track back here. I've thought about putting it off of this industry, kind of on the end of this track, but I think it would make a little bit more sense off of this one, simply because I've got dead tracks coming in here. The way I'm kind of explaining it is this is, the old steam engine, train, railroad was, here, and they had all this area. And time went on, they started using this less and less, and they sold off this section of land, but maybe they kept a little bit back here, just for some work and that sort of stuff. So that's kind of why I'm thinking about putting it here. But I do want to put on a programming track. I've got the ECU programmer I'll stick underneath here, and that way it's tucked out of the way. I'll have a table I can pull out and put the computer on and start playing around. So that's kind of that idea. Moving on, we've got, I think the Walters kit is the tire plant. I think this one's a tire plant. Again, not what I'm necessarily going to use it as, but that's the kit that it is. Just got basic footprint right now built. Got to start building and finishing off this building. So we've got the two main lines that go and run across. In between right there, I am going to throw I've got a Walters kit. Again, a Walters kit. Train station. I'm going to put that on that side over there. I don't know what I'm going to do kind of over here between the tracks. I'm going to have a road coming down here. I'm going to call that one Railway Avenue. And it's not prototypical, but it's in honor, I guess you could say, of a road that I lived close by as a young adult. And I figure that this track here, this spur line here, will kind of come back around this way, and then just, in the world would go up this way, and the road would run parallel with it. So the road will go here. This year, I'm not sure what I'm going to call it. It does have bread on the side. I don't know if I can kind of get in there. You can see READ is still there. The B is there, but so I'm thinking, maybe that's a bakery. I don't know. Just a small kind of mom and pop area or something. Or it used to be and it's now, an auto parts store. I don't know. But I figure I'll throw this building back here because it does sort of look like it could be serviced by a train. And so that'll be a separate industry. And then we've got this here, which I think was a paper printer building. I'm not sure. I think it's probably going to be more like a cold storage or something like that. There's another little part that goes over here, but I've got that lined up so that way I can have the trucks right here. Along here, I'm going to light this truck up. I think I mentioned that in a previous video as well. So that's another industry that I got to start working on. Walters kit, I think I mentioned that already. In the background, I'm going to have a little farm because I've had that house for a little while. That was on my first layout. The silos I bought up in Canada at Frogs and Diamonds, or Diamonds and Frogs. It is an actual train store up in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And if you are anywhere near there, I suggest taking a trip. And behind that, you'll see some coal hoppers. They're just kind of sitting there on a track right now, which I need to pull it away from the wall a little bit because I'm actually going to put a mouse hole through the wall and into the other room. I'm going to try to put in a, like 2, 3, 4 track staging yard back there. It won't be scenic or anything. So yeah, that's that. Moving on to section 3 now. This is going to be an anchor scene right here. I've got Walters crossbucks, cantilevers, and they are operated with a circuit board off of some gentleman off of Facebook. Unfortunately, I cannot remember his name, but he makes a lot of PCBs for flashers and that sort of stuff. So I've got that on this one switch here so I can operate them. I've also got this switch here, which will operate the sound. I can run it silent or, go full guns. It is a We Honest crossing bell. So I've got that little speaker underneath, kind of in the same general area as the lights. So this is going to be a road that comes out to, you can pretty much see the arrow there. It's going to go basically from that arrow to where the nose of this truck is. And I'm going to build that as I did over here. This is gypsylite on both of those. I'm going to build it with that because it gives a little bit of depth. And I just think it looks a lot more realistic than using the styrene that I did over here. And I'll get into that later. But the gypsylite I've got under there. I'm going to put the gypsylite here so that way I can have this construction vehicle, the backhoe, which is from East Coast Circuits. And I've got down here, you can kind of see I've got some of their barrels that light up. He's going to be digging a hole. I'm not 100% sure this fits the scenario that's here. I'm going back and forth, and I'll look at do some research and see if I can't figure out a way to put that in there. Without this in there, that'd be pretty big to hold a backhoe, so I'm not too sure. But I'd like to have this truck in that position for this scene. We'll see. There'll be kind of gravel there off the shoulder, because as I am a truck driver and have hauled freight for many a year, I know this scenario does happen in real life, and that's why I want to really make sure it looks good, because I know this. Just enough room to get trucks in and out, but just not enough room to make it very easy. So this driveway is basically going to come straight off the road. There's going to be, I think here, by the parking lot, there might be like a little grassy area, like a median type of deal. But all through here, the truck dock area is just going to meet right up to the road and back straight in off the road. Like I said, some gravel here, and then it'll probably be grass and little walkways or something here. These two buildings I just got off of the latest train show, and I didn't need this one at all. I did want that because I wanted to throw something back there that would fit between the wall and the track, and I liked that one, but I really like this one. It's very well done, and they shot me an offer. I was like, I don't know. They didn't really want to take it back home because it's big. And then they shot me an offer for both of them, and I'm like, I really can't pass it up. So I didn't know where it was going to go. I just knew I had to buy it. So now I got a couple of little trash bins from the same guy that made those telephone poles. But I'm going to probably put in a little bit of a berm here. I know, was it K&W, I think it is, that was doing the berms around his. Yeah, I think it was him. I'm going to put just a little bit of a hill, not much, just enough to kind of break the very flatness. And the same over here. I want to put maybe a little hill over here, and I want to maybe put like a still pond or something over here, dig down. But we'll see about that. That's farther in the future. This year, my next step that I got to do is I'm building this road, and then I'm going to come back and work on this section. I'm going to start from the bridge and over this way. So I'll have to think about this pretty soon. Like I said, a little bit of a hill. I'll probably have like a dirt parking lot back here that's accessed off the layout. Then we got this here. This had to be compressed. I do need to put in some proper truck docks. I've got some of those from Mini Prints. I'm going to have it 2 docks. Again, I don't know what this is going to be. I do know that the track is going to run into the building, so I need to take that door off, and I'm probably going to take this one off, or at least make it like halfway open or something, and put an interior in there. I don't know. Maybe it's a a cabinet maker. So I've got lumber, coming in, and deliveries going in and out. So it's kind of what I'm leaning to, but again, I'll see as I go along. And then I've got another Walters kit. Again, I got the footprint on that, kind of kit bashing it once again because it is a 4-sided building. I cut one in half. I'm running into a problem with the roof because the roof as the kit is not wide enough to go straight across. So I got to try to figure out how I can take care of the roof on that. That's really what kind of tied me up on that one. But in between these two buildings, I'm going to put a dead end road coming this way. I think that'll fill up that area quite nicely. Again, around this building, I might have a little bit of dirt, like a little parking lot or something. The end of this building might have just the walkway going along the building. But I wanted a dead end there because I wanted to represent I'm going to say dirty side of an industrial area, but not like a seedy dirty side. I'm just talking like discarded tires, some garbage bags, papers kind of strewn about, that sort of stuff. So I've seen a couple of people with that on their layout, and I think, man, that really brings depth to the realism of their layout. So that's what's going to end up happening there. And then, of course, we got the lift out bridge. We all know that at this point. We've got what I call the "what do you mean Cletus ain't home" scene going on here. Is just some hillbilly redneck coming by. I guess Cletus is his brother, slept with his wife, And so now he's coming to kind of settle the score and just, leave it at that. So I believe that was Woodland Scenics junkyard kit, I think it was. I can't remember. I believe it's Woodland Scenics tree. There's 3 of those. I think it was a Woodland Scenic kit. And then I got the mobile home at a train show as well. And then that little outhouse came with another house that's in town that is a Woodland Scenic as well. These trees and that sign came from the same vendor at the train show in 2 different years. I'm not 100% sure if the trees are going to be there. I might move them out and put something else there, but I think that's going to be a forested area. It just kind of pulls along with that. This is probably not going to stay here. I just didn't know where else to put it, so I just put it there. Of course, if you're on Facebook, you probably have seen this. That kind of went viral. I don't know how that happened, but it did. It was originally going to start out as just a standalone diorama. Had the idea because, as I said, I'm a truck driver 26 years. One thing that was really getting annoying on that video was it should have been a Swift. No, it shouldn't have been. If this was 2007, possibly should have been a Swift trailer. But at this point, if you drive the roads and you actually look and do Google searches, you'll see that Amazon Prime are worse drivers than any of them out there. In fact, I think they get leftovers from Swift that Swift wouldn't even hire. So I can't remember who. I want to say it's an Atlas. I can't remember offhand who made that Prime trailer. The cab underneath is a first gen Cascadia, and again, I can't remember who made that. The lights I installed, they are Evans Designs. I got a 4-pack, and you can tell them what colors you want. I got a 2, 4, 6, 8-pack, and installed on both the tractor and trailer. And the nice thing is the wires. Look, and I can't get in there to show you, but the wires look just like the pigtails, the air lines, and the electrical cord that go from the cab to the trailer. So that worked out well. I did do some work. Obviously, I customized the cab. I dirtied it up. It's an old market transport truck that I removed the names. It looks like one of the cheap, I'm going to try to stay politically correct, one of the new style drivers that buy the cheapest piece of equipment they can. Probably bought the truck for 10 grand. Never gives it a wash. Has dangly bits on mirrors and such. And put grimed it all up. I took the wheels, the drive axle wheels underneath the trailer here, and I actually shaved off the bottom of the rubbers and then measured from there, so it looks like the tires are being compressed from being pinched underneath the bridge. So with that, once I filed those down, I shaved off the top of the cab, which again, I can't get the camera in here right to be able to see it. But shaved the top of the cab off a little bit, and then came in with a Dremel, I think it was, and cut at the 12'6" mark. Got my heat gun, bent the roof up into that position as best as I could to try to make it look like it kind of peeled backwards. And then I heated the nose of the trailer up, and you can kind of see the lighting on it here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. You can kind of see I've buckled the front of the trailer as it would have gotten pushed back. So yeah, that's that. The idea came, and then I found this both of these actually on Facebook, and it was pre-weathered. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. I was going to use the one. Found the sign for 12'6". It was perfect. And then it went on to the layout, and I wanted the double mainline. So thankfully I had the other one and stuck it in behind. And I absolutely love it. This was going to be originally kind of over there. It was going to be over here. I didn't know exactly where it was going to go once I decided it was going to go on the layout. And I thought this was perfect because it's not very deep. It's just about 2 foot. and close to the, entrance where it cuts in. Couldn't really put any industry here, so it worked out that I sunk that down, did a little bit of sculpting, and yeah, I'm happy with this layout. It's not quite done. I still need to put trees and whatnot. None of this is actually done. Even there, I could say I could, still do stuff. So I don't think a layout is ever really done, but um, I'm happy with the way that has turned out. I'm going to get a what was it, East Coast Circuits police vehicle with lights, and this will be replaced by that at some point. It's not high on my priority list. Then we come over here back. This is actually section 4, kind of getting back to where we started. The town, that was kind of a blessing in disguise. Originally, what I was planning on doing was taking this line back here and taking it back here somehow and doing a yard back here. This is where the first yard was. But like I said before, I don't like stub yards. If that's the only thing you can do, then that's the only thing you can do. I had one on my 4x8 layout, and I just felt like it didn't really work. I was trying to figure out what to do because from here to the back of the wall, I believe is somewhere around 5 foot. It might be a little bit more, might be a little less, but either way, my arm is not going to reach the back. I mean, I'm standing up against it and I'm hitting this house here. So even if I stretch, I get to that house there. So I was like, if I have a yard back there and something derails or something like that, I was just like, you know what? Just scrap the yard idea. And then I remembered that I had a ton of these buildings. Didn't have that one there, that merch row, and I did have those. I think I had all of these, actually. I can't remember if I've actually showcased this on the YouTube channel or just on Facebook with a video called Out Delivering Donuts or something like that. But it is a D's Trains little RC. It's got the headlights, it's got the tail lights, and a really, really noisy. I'm going to have to put some oil on there, I think might help. But yeah, I got my own little delivery truck, and I've had it going around the layout every once in a while. Yeah, so again, Easter eggs. Like I said, I've got the Ecto Firehouse hook and ladder. I've got the dual semi from, Dual. And then I've got the Black Knight from the Holy Grail. So I've got a few little things. Everything on here is styrene sheets. And that's why I brought it out here originally. I didn't know what I was going to do out here. In fact, that road wasn't even, none of this road was actually going to be here. I don't think, if I remember right. I was going to have where this house or that building, this garage, the gas station, was going to be over in this corner, and then the road was basically just going to come up here, and then I didn't know what was going to go on back here. But ooh, hey, look at that! I didn't even realize I knocked that out of there. But then I found that building. I think that was at Frogs and Kings as well, up in Winnipeg. And I had to get that. It's very well done. I added the 2 vending machines out front, but those 3 buildings as one unit and for a very good price. I was like, you know what? I got to get it. I didn't know where it was going to go, but I had to get it. And I just kind of threw it in that corner like that. And I was like, you know what? I can always bring the road out here like this, kind of make this a country road at this point. And that is exactly what I did, and I'm really happy that I did, because it kind of brought this a little bit more to life out here. I'm not a big fan of the styrene roads, but it works. I didn't mind it back there because that was kind of background, it was just to fill in. I would have liked to have done the gypsylite more out here, and I could have, but it was just easier to keep it, and it blended it all in. Wish I would have done the painting a little bit different, but it is what it is. Thinking about going to Home Depot today. They're open till 5, and getting the wood to go across here, because I know I'm not going to be able to live with that being open for very long. So we'll see. Probably by the end of the year I will have that, though, taken care of. And that is the layout. At some point I will have, I don't have it up here, but I have a little Runcam 5 orange that ends up sitting on, if I can find it somewhere over here, this little guy here. These are, it's a truck, and I believe it's off of like a logging set that I had. It was already broken, so I broke it even more and made sure that it was nice and flat. So I put this in front of my locomotive, and then the camera is the exact same size as this little square, so it sits nicely on the track, and then it gets pushed around. So I will have a track side, track level video at some point. So there's the layout. That's what we got for you today. It's come a long way. I started the first section, was it February 10th, I believe it was, of 2023, and started this room in March. I think it was March 12th of this year. So a lot has happened in the past few months, and I am happy with where it is right now, and I am looking forward to where it goes from here. So today is actually Christmas Eve, so I don't know if I'll have this out today or tomorrow or what have you, but hope you all had or have a Merry Christmas, and hope you get lots of trains under the tree this year. And if I don't have another video this year, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we will all see you on the next one.